Hello again, fellow orchid lovers. So this is my Oncidium Alliance update. I do have a Miltonia on its way to me. Am I crazy? Yes, I am. I've had no success with Miltoniopsis or Miltonias. However, I'm gonna try again. So I will show you that orchid when I receive it. It hasn't shipped yet, so maybe later on in this week. But these are my Oncidium orchids. There's a reason why that one is quarantined all by itself over there, and I'll get to that in a moment. So this is this orchid made an appearance in my last update because I realized that this orchid had what I think is Fusarium. So I am still trying to save it. I did cut most of the rest of the plant off. The rhizome on this piece did not have any purple in it, so I am going to try to save this part of the orchid. It is still green, it is still growing, the root is still firm. I put just a little bit of water in here for 2 days, and then I let it, because it has chunkier roots, I don't keep it in water all the time. I put the water up to here, I let it soak for 2 days, and then I dump the water. And that does seem to work for this plant, so far so good. It doesn't seem to be failing at this point. So I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but I will keep you updated on that. This is my Oncidium Sweet Sugar. I was failing with this orchid. This is the lemon drop version, so it has very yellow blooms. And then I changed my method and I got 2 new growths. I showed them to you last time. They're much smaller, so they're definitely progressing, getting new roots. So that's great. My method with this one is I have these glass beads on the bottom here, and I just put the water, it's kind of hard to see, but the glass beads end about here, and I just put the water to the top of the glass beads so that the roots, when they're sitting correctly in the pot, have some contact but are not actually like soaking in the water, and that seems to work. Across the board, whenever I have an orchid that has roots that are dead or dying, I don't cut the roots off. I take the velamen off of the root and I kind of just leave the stringy part that's inside intact. And I know I'm probably going to get some people telling me that that's wrong, that this root doesn't hydrate, but in my method, I have proven that to be different. I have that Phalaenopsis that lost its roots and only had this for months, and it pulled through. So clearly was getting some hydration, and this plant as well. If you look at it, the only thing in contact with the water is these strings of all these quote-unquote dead roots, but it's the velamen really that was dead and rotting, but the root inside is fine. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's getting new growth, so it is hydrating despite the fact that this is the only thing touching the water. Yes, there is some condensation that it probably is benefiting from, but I don't think condensation alone would have kept this orchid from dying. So that's my theory. I'm sure some people would disagree with me, but it's working for me, so that's what I'm gonna go with. My Shari baby, she continues to puzzle me. She was doing so good, her spike was doing so good, her spike started to die, I cut the spike back. Now this leaf is starting to turn yellow, and I do know, I haven't changed where it's growing, so this can't be from light damage. And the leaves have not come off of my trees, so it can't be that the light has changed. Although, you know, the earth does rotate and maybe it's getting a little more direct light than it should, but just one leaf, especially because the way the plant sits, this leaf would get a lot of sun before this leaf would. Now I do know that older pseudobulbs, the leaves do fall off, so I'm hoping that's it. Whenever a leaf turns yellow and falls off, I always get a momentary panic attack thinking, am I doing something wrong? Is this a sign? Because I have only been growing orchids for 6 months. And she clearly is not too happy because she lost her spike. And so anyways, if anyone has a Shari baby, is this normal? I think it is. but I also don't want to ignore it. So if you know, I mean, I know that the spotting on the leaves is normal for a Shari baby. They're not the prettiest orchid. They do get the spots. And the way that I'm growing her, oh, there goes my finger. I warned you. I turned the camera this way, my finger's getting the frame. I do also have the glass beads. I put the water just to here, and I allow, you know, her to drink it, and then I fill it up to here again, and then she drinks it, and then I fill it up to here again. So she's moist, but not really damp. I was putting the water, you know, slightly higher, and I felt that the base of the plant was staying too damp. And I'm afraid that that's gonna rot any new growths because they grow from the bottom of the plant. So I'm doing it this way. It does seem to be working. She doesn't seem to be dried out. If I touch the roots on the top of her, they do seem like they are hydrated. They don't seem to be papery, or like this one, it doesn't sit in the water, and that one's kind of papery, but the rest of them seem okay. So that's what I'm gonna go with. This is my Oncidium Sai Kumar. This I've had, dang it, I was gonna look at my notes and see when I got it. I got this, I'm gonna say back in March when I started water culture. This is one of the first orchids that I purchased. It was on sale, it was cheap, so I said, well, let me spend money on this one, and if I kill it, it's cheap, it's not that big of a deal. Well, I have not killed it. It grew 2 spikes. It's taking forever for it to bloom. I mean, if I got this back in March, I probably noticed the spikes end of April, and it just bloomed recently. This is the last bloom on this spike. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it to focus because it's so tiny. Come on. Maybe I can help it. Oh, I really wanted you to see this because it's really pretty. There you go. And it smells like honey and vanilla. Now this spike only got 4 blooms. There's nodes down here, so maybe they will plump and get flowers. I don't know. It did take 4 or 5 months for it to even get buds. This one's just now starting to get buds. So I'm excited to see some more. It looks like I'm gonna get 4 buds on that one too. So I don't know if it blooms up here and then these start to bloom or they start to branch. So even after this flower falls, I'm just gonna leave it and see what happens. This is another one that I have the glass beads. All my Oncidiums have glass beads, except for the Shelob token, but we're gonna talk about that in a minute. And I just fill the water to the top of the glass beads so that, you know, the roots touch it, drink it, and then I fill it up again. But you know, I don't put it on the roots anymore because, like I said, the base of the Oncidium was staying too damp, I feel, and I was worried about rotting, you know, the pseudobulbs and then any new growths that were coming along. All right, so I'm gonna move these out of the way, and then I'm gonna take my Shelob token out and show you what's going on with this one. So my last update video, I mentioned that the tips of some of the leaves were going brown. No, do not touch each other. Stay away. So I've cut them off, but I keep getting them. So there were 2 that were browning. I cut them. About 2 weeks later, more of them were browning. So I cut them as well. So now it's 4 leaves total that I've had to cut. And I see a little bit starting there, which is odd because it usually just starts on the tip. So I don't know what's going on with this orchid. I think I was keeping it too damp for sure. I have stopped doing that. I let it dry out for a day, and then I put water in, but I only put like a tiny bit on the very bottom. But I don't know if that's what's doing it. I don't know why this is happening. I was thinking maybe I'm overfeeding it, but I'm doing a very dilute solution. So unless it's one of those orchids that just doesn't like high levels of feed, I'm gonna just do distilled water for a little while and see if maybe that will stop that from happening. I did get this orchid from the same place that I got the odontoglossum that had Fusarium. So maybe this is another orchid that just, I mean, it seems to me like the new growths have stopped. Like they're not progressing any further. They had spikes when I got them, and then the spikes died very soon after I got it. But I mean, I don't know how long it was in spikes, so it could have just been near the end of its blooming. It's a real head scratcher for me. So if anyone knows anything about this orchid, please feel free to weigh in and tell me what you think. I'm kind of at a loss with this one. The pseudobulbs are plump and healthy. They're firm. There's nothing. It seems like a healthy plant, and then all of a sudden, every once in a while, I'll look at it and they'll be brown on the tips of the leaves. And like I said, I use a very dilute solution of fertilizer, so I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping that it's not just something wrong with the plant and it's just gonna die. There was a second piece of it, and that's kind of how I figured out I was keeping it too moist. That second piece, the smaller piece that I had in a different vase, the pseudobulbs were rotting. So this one, the pseudobulbs are not rotting, so hopefully I caught this one in time. And I did change my method. I'm not keeping it as damp as I was, but again, I don't know why the tips of the leaves keep going brown. So if you have any ideas about that, let me know. But that is my update on my Oncidium Alliance. And I'll hopefully post another video with my Cattleyas and then another video with my Phalaenopsis. So if you have any pointers, let me know. Any questions, please feel free. Otherwise, I will again talk to you next time.